Hey True Nation, I'm Stevachii and I'm here with Isa from True Minnesota. Super excited to have her on here. She has a really cool, inspiring story that I think a lot of people are going to be able to connect with, as well as just be inspired by and motivated if you're in that situation. And I was super inspired. I got to hear it a little bit before this. But Isa, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you found True, and then you can kind of go right into just the story that you kind of talked to me about.
Yeah, so I heard about True from a player on my association team, like 4 days before tryouts, and for some reason I was just very compelled to try out, even though that was the first time hearing about them. And so literally every day until tryouts I would go on my bike and ride my bike to my elementary school with my lacrosse stick and do wall ball. But I still couldn't catch at tryouts despite all the wall ball I was doing. And that kind of speaks to where I was in my skill level. My dad actually told me a couple years later that he was surprised I was even trying out because I was just not good.
Shout out to Dad.
Yeah, he was really supportive at the time, but that's just what he was thinking inside. But I still made a team. It was not the best team, but I still made a team. And I just really fell in love with True and all my coaches, and I really fell in love with the way that they really poured into players. And I developed as a player, and so going into the summer of 2019 when I tried out, I was really hoping to make the better team. And it was really, really disappointing when I didn't make the best team. It was very devastating, and I remember asking my coaches why, and I understand why, and I understood at the time, but it was still very upsetting because I had worked so hard.
Yeah.
I literally bought a bounce back with my own money, and I bought a training ladder, and I practiced with that, but I still wasn't in the place to be on that better team. But instead of letting that discourage me, it really lit a fire within me to practice all the more and work even harder and work on my mental game too, which was really what was holding me back, was my confidence. And so from that time, from summer of 2019 to summer of 2020, I went all in. Especially during that summer, I would go to practice, and then I'd go to the gym after, and I'd practice outside of practice, and I really just went all in. I really worked on my mental game too and my confidence with leadership meetings that Coach Heather was doing, and I really just went all in with that. And tryouts of summer of 2020, I made the top state team, which was just really, it was really a culmination in that moment of all of the hard work that I had put in. And actually a couple days ago I was going through my dresser drawer and I found the goals that I had set at the end of 2019 going into 2020, and one of them was to make the top state team. And it just got me emotional, even though I'm done with True now, just to think about how I really just put in all that work and it finally came to fruition, and I'm playing in college now, which I also would not be doing if it weren't for True. So yeah, that's just a bit of my story.
It's so cool. And I was telling her earlier, it's, you know, to hear a story like this, so many like people go through that adversity, right? Those bumps in life, and when you get rejected, or especially when you want something so bad, right? And I think it's really cool to see. All right, you didn't make the team that you wanted at first, but I think a lot the maturity that you showed at that point, though, of you knew what your coaches. You know, your coaches are your coach for a reason, right? They have insight, they have wisdom, they know what they're talking about. And for you not to be, for you to hear that and be like, okay, you know what, like, I understand what they're saying, take a step back and realize, all right, they know what they're talking about. And now what I need to do is just go after it and learn from my mistakes and learn how to be better. And I love that you did that. And obviously from there, you were able to just continue to work, you know, to where you got in 2020. And I think another good thing for people to realize, even with your story, is having goals, right? Because I think having goals is super, when you're during your down days, or when you're kind of like, man, like, yeah, like what's going on, you know, like what's the next step, or what's everything looking like? And you know what, I remember my goal, like I'm going to continue to go after that. So I love that. And then you talked about Heather, your coach had a leadership program. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so it was during COVID, so we were Zooming in, but it was with other players, and she asked us different questions to urge us to think about how to be a better player and how to be a better teammate, and to be a leader on our teams. And that's really where it all came down to, was being a great team player and elevating our team.
Awesome. And so you said you're going to college. What college are you going to?
I'm going to Concordia St. Paul, and actually 5 other girls who are on the team that I was just on for the past year are going on to play with me too. So that's,
wow. Okay.
I'm really excited about that. And just growing up in the program, like those girls who were really good, I always had put them on a pedestal and been like, oh my gosh, like those girls are so good. And then finally being on that team and being like, it's an honor that I'm playing with people who are so talented and so hardworking and so dedicated. And once I had worked on my confidence, I no longer felt inadequate with them. And it was just so great. Making those relationships with my teammates, and then now we're gonna continue to make those relationships over the next 4 years as we're playing in college together. It really is such an honor and such a privilege to be able to play lacrosse and to have played it true, and it's gonna be an honor and a privilege to play where I'm going, so I'm really excited.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's really cool to see just the family aspect that, you know, you get with True, and just hearing that. I mean, that's so awesome. You know, you're going to college, but you're like, I get to bring people that I know with me, right? It makes it a little bit easier going away from home and everything. So yeah, I mean, is there anything that you would want to tell? I'm sure there might be some kids, or even just maybe even adults that are in their jobs, right? And they want to hear just an inspiring story. But is there anything for kids that were in your situation in 2018 that just tried out, or are going to be trying out and may not make the team that they want, or may not make that top team? What's some just, you know, some inspiring things that you really took to heart for yourself and that you think could help them?
Yeah, my first thing would be to lean in instead of pulling away, because I watched girls who didn't make the same team, or the team that they wanted to, and instead of humbling themselves and being like, okay, I'm going to submit to the leadership that I'm under and the authority that I'm under, and really learn from them and grow and be intentional at practice and work on the things I need to work on. Instead of that, they got bitter and leaned back. And so that's what I'd say, is just lean in, keep working hard, and use it to motivate you instead of deter you. And your coaches are there to make you better. That's literally their job. So ask questions if you don't understand certain concepts. And also the biggest thing for me was working on my confidence and my mental game. So those are a couple things that I would say.
That's awesome. You know, this story reminds me of MJ, Michael Jordan. You know, got cut from the team and then ended up becoming the best basketball player ever. And so I think there's so many more stories of that. I'm so just excited for your future, excited to hear just all the hard work really coming to where it's brought you to, you know, today. So for anyone that's watching this, I hope this was encouraging to you, inspiring. Thank you so much for being on True Podcast. I guess we can call it that.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. See you guys.